Good morning. Welcome to a Friday Eve. It is the 12th of September, and we're at 8:37 in the morning here in Western Iowa. Hope you're having a great day so far. All right, let's jump into those hazards as I'm a little bit hyperallergenic. I guess it's the ragweed or something. But yeah, a little bit of winter weather up there in northwest Montana into Idaho with winter weather advisories. So be advised that there's going to be some winter. And look at that, to the east of Salt Lake City, a freeze watch. I believe that is for tonight. Then we see into the plains, and that includes parts of the Four Corners. So Utah into Colorado, Wyoming, and into the plains. We do have a red flag warning in effect, so it's quite breezy here. That turns into a wind advisory for South Dakota, North Dakota. Meanwhile, let's go down to tropical depression, Francine now. Maximum winds at 35 miles an hour or so, moving off to the northeast, I believe, at 12 miles an hour, something like that. In fact, I just looked at the advisory and I've already forgotten. So it's moving mainly to the north slowly, and we have tropical depression winds now around 35 miles an hour. That much I do remember. And so lots of rain too for Mississippi into Tennessee, also over to Alabama and parts of Georgia. So that's where our flood watches and flood warnings are. So flood warnings in Mississippi. And then we also see a tornado watch in effect, panhandle of Florida into Alabama, and there's even a couple tornado warnings not too far from Panama City, for example. So this is where we're expecting our spin-ups for today. And then it's heat for southern Florida, heat advisory here, and then all the way up into New Jersey, parts of Maryland and Delaware. I do believe that's dense fog. I'm checking yep, that's dense fog advisory. All right. Moving along to our weather spotlight. Takes us into Memphis, Tennessee, the National Weather Service there. And it's kind of fun to see when once in a while the veil is lifted and someone didn't quite finish the job here. So what? It's fill in the blank inches of rainfall with locally higher amounts. So, I mean, we're looking at a couple, 3 inches easily in this area. When? Enter text. It would be through this evening. Impacts flash flooding urban areas and low-lying areas for poor drainage areas. Anyway, watch out for flooding in this whole general area. Have multiple ways to receive warnings. So watch out, Memphis and environs. All right, let's take a look at our radar in motion. In fact, I'm going to fix this on the fly. There we go. It's a little better. We're looking at, and I've already have this in motion for you, obviously. So here's Francine. Made landfall yesterday evening in Louisiana, and has moved right on up into Mississippi and then now into the south. And so we see that northward progress and then a little jog to the west as it rains itself out. But through this radar loop, and we're taking this all the way into Monday, you can see a large area here in the southeast and along the Mississippi River. Just periods of rain and heavy rainfall, especially for like Georgia, Alabama, like South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky. Could see some widespread heavy rainfall as we go through the weekend into early next week. Meanwhile, I want you to look at the monsoon returning. See the moisture moving up the Gulf of Mexico here and back into Arizona. A little bit of a tropical low here and some tropical moisture moving back into Arizona. And so we're looking at a chance for some showers and some thunderstorms back as the monsoon hanging in there into the weekend. And then we get the beginning of this loop again here is coming up, and we'll watch the Pacific Northwest, mainly Montana. This is the low that's up in Canada, but it could be driving some severe weather for eastern Montana, and of course, chance for some snow into the higher elevations of northwestern Montana. That's why we have those winter weather advisories here. All right, let's get back to the severe weather because there is a chance today in eastern Montana, a little bit of Wyoming, and into the Dakotas. The slight risk in the yellow, of course, and then even the marginal risk in the dark green. So we could see some severe weather up here in the northern plains. And then, of course, our severe weather that's happening this morning, for parts of Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and that is where our best chance of tornadoes is occurring. So our 5% chance in the brown, the 2%, extending into Georgia and further into Florida and a little bit of Mississippi, and then also up there in the plains of Montana. So watch out for some tornadoes here. Of course, always keep your ear to NOAA weather radio or other ways to get warnings so you know what's going on and you'll know what actions to take. All right, here is our surface for today. We see Tropical Storm Francine from this morning has now become Tropical Depression Francine. Heavy rains, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, into the Florida Panhandle. That's also where we're seeing severe weather this morning. Mainly some spin-ups of some tornadoes. And this is, heavy rain for that whole area. And then we go to our system to the north and a chance for some heavy rainfall in portions of Montana and a little bit in the mountains, but mostly into the plains of eastern Montana, and that's where our severe weather threat is today as well. You see the areas of snowfall, Idaho, into western Montana, back towards Yellowstone and Wyoming, and then out ahead of our system and front is our critical fire weather with winds, dry conditions, warm weather, moving into the central and northern plains. Today's highs kind of reflect that. So the central and northern plains today in the low 90s in many places here. In fact, as you head further to the east into the Midwest, we're looking at 80s, so temperatures dropping off. And even into, say, the Great Lakes, temperatures in the 80s. Where it's raining from Francine, lots of 70s here. And that's moving even eastward into the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, back into the low 80s. The west is where the coolest temperatures are, and it's really fun to see these temperatures change as we get further into fall, and that's where your fall-like temperatures are. Definitely into western Montana, into Idaho, into parts of Wyoming, Utah, and even in Washington and Oregon, especially at elevation. And those low temperatures really reflect that. 49 tomorrow morning in Eugene, and widespread 40s and 50s all across the west. Of course, the desert southwest hotter than that. And then as you get on the other side of the Rockies, east of the Rockies, we're starting the day mainly in the 60s. And then the darker red is the 70s. But there are some 50s in here. Great Lakes and into the northeast. Our surface for tomorrow, our heavy rainfall shifting a little further northward and eastward into Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. So this is our main area to watch for continued heavy rains from the remnants of Francine, post-tropical cyclone Francine. But a widespread area of scattered showers and storms all through the southeast up into the Midwest. We see our system in the plains making eastward progress with a chance of storms from Nebraska up through the Dakotas, and then back behind the system into Montana. Our snow chances continue for Yellowstone into parts of southwestern Montana as well. Highs tomorrow. Getting hotter in Texas. I'm sorry, you guys. Upper 90s to near 100 here for Friday. Our area of rain-cooled 70s has expanded now into, say, well, I don't know it's rain-cooled, but there'll be some clouds for Missouri and maybe a little bit of rain from what was Francine. So temperatures cooling off a little bit in parts of the Midwest. We've got upper 70s from North Carolina into Virginia and further to the north. And then the west, of course, is the coolest. The hottest, barely hanging on to the hottest, is the desert southwest. Texas giving you a run for your money, but still 103 here tomorrow in Phoenix. And your surface for Saturday brings that moisture back into Arizona, so the monsoon back on, hanging in. But our heavy rain, all the way from Nashville through Atlanta, parts of Alabama, and further to the south in Georgia, and getting into South Carolina, our heaviest rainfall here. And then, scattered showers up there in the Pacific Northwest, more of a steady rain for northwestern Oregon. Those highs on Saturday in the Northwest, we're still looking at quite a few 70s, especially east of the Cascades, but even the Willamette Valley. So a lot of 70s here, but not uncomfortable at all. And then a lot of 80s across much of the country. Still hot in Texas, though. We've got 100 there. That's getting towards Abilene or so, even upper 90s to near 100 for San Antonio, Austin, up into Dallas, Lubbock 98. So that's where the heat is. 100. The streak may hang in there through the weekend for Phoenix, but I think it's going to be broken perhaps by Saturday or Sunday. Here's Sunday, 94 for Phoenix, so that is better. With upper 90s to near 100 for Texas, mid 90s into Oklahoma, the hottest weather. And the coolest weather, I mean, again, a lot of 80s on this map and a few 70s. Pacific Northwest would be coolest. The next 3 days of rainfall. So just to give you an idea of how much rain for Memphis, 4 to 5 inches of rain, northern Mississippi, into wide areas of Tennessee. Then you get into Alabama and we're talking 6, 7, 8 inches of rain possibly. And so widespread, very heavy rainfall here in the southeast. And then you get up into Montana, say, and we're still looking at a couple inches of rain for portions of the eastern portions of Montana. I call eastern anything east of the Rockies. So even it's kind of like the eastern 2/3 of Montana, but that's the eastern portions of the state because that's where the plains are. And then, of course, the mountains of Montana could see some snow from this system. All right, let's take a look at our 6 to 10 degree temperatures. That made no sense at all. 6 to 10 day temps, and where it's hottest in the desert southwest is our best chance for below average. So congratulations, and we're going to even that out for you. And the Great Lakes, where it's been the coolest, at least last week, is still warming up. So our best chance of above average temperatures, really the eastern 2/3 of the country. Precipitation wise, the big winners here, the Pacific Northwest into the Intermountain West, into the Northern Plains, and the Central Plains, even a decent chance of above average precipitation. That also goes into, say, the Mid-Atlantic. The dry spots overall, even though monsoon returning this weekend for Arizona, that's kind of our best chance for below average precipitation, also up in the Great Lakes and northern New England and along the Texas Gulf Coast. All right, that is a quick update on what happened with Francine and what is happening with what's left of Francine. So really those heavy rainfalls in the southeast, particularly northern Mississippi, parts of Tennessee, into Kentucky, parts of Arkansas, Alabama, and Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle. Watch out for tornadoes, heavy rainfall through the weekend. And then the other interesting place, I think, is up there in Montana with maybe some snow. And for Yellowstone, which is, they usually get started first. So that's what's happening this year too. All right. I really appreciate you being here. Like and subscribe if you like. And we'll see you tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.